I really learned this even more with franchising is that 1 plus 1 is greater than 2, meaning if we find great people who are smarter than I am in operations and in tech and all of the different areas that the function needs to thrive, um, finding them, telling them what the North Star is, making sure they're a good culture fit, that the values align, that we live by the same or similar principles, right?
If you're an emerging franchise founder, you already know this. The jump from 10 to 100 units is where most brands stall out. Not because the concept isn't strong, but because the founder is drowning in chaos. I'm Guy Coffey, franchisor, franchisee, and growth strategist. I've been where you are, and I know what it takes to build a brand that scales without burning out, selling out, or losing control. That's why I created the Franchise Scale Up Show. Every week, I'll share the playbooks, the red flags, and the mindset shifts that separate the brands that stall from the ones that scale. So if you're serious about protecting your vision and multiplying your brand, hit subscribe right now. This is the Franchise Scale Up Show. I'm Guy Coffey. Let's get to work. Hello, and welcome back to another show of the Franchise Scale Up Show with me, Guy Coffey, and a special guest today whose story you are going to love, Michael Jacobson of the French Florist. Michael, welcome to the show.
It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I read about your story and then obviously did a deeper dive and then reached out to you because your story combines so many things that emerging brand founders are going through. And it combines kind of a stale business that there wasn't a ton of innovation in, someone coming in with a new viewpoint on it and a new way of doing it, the scaling, technology. Everybody's talking about technology and how that's going to change our world, and you are proving it every day. So without further ado, could you just introduce yourself and your backstory, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the things that you might hear me say today are like, why? Why do we do what we do? Why do I have the conviction that we have? Why does our company exist? There's, we have franchise owners that are coming to us with wild stories, right? We have like ex-bomb technicians and Marine veterans, friends that are becoming doctors in the emergency room, and they're like literally saving people's lives. And here we are, like playing with flowers, right? And so, like, how do we make that make sense? And we do. We do make that make sense. But it all starts with that fire in your belly. What fires you up? And I learned the hard way, as a lot of people do, where like I've always loved startups that fed that fire. And so, got involved with the startup community in college, studied like entrepreneurship and finance because it's a nice backbone for entrepreneurship as well, to get the unit economics of things right is an important factor, right? Not the ends, or hopefully not. Hopefully there's more to it than just the money, but it's the gasoline for sure. It's a nice vehicle. But I made I don't want to call it a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, but like a lot of folks joined corporate out of college, you hear the risks of becoming an entrepreneur and how many startups fail. And I learned a lot in my corporate job out of college, but just didn't feed that fire, right? So, when times got tough or just a little bit like I don't know, I don't really read into it much more than saying it didn't feed that fire and I could sit there and be unhappy, or I can go and do something about it, right? And so I only lasted about a year before I started to look at other opportunities that were a little more entrepreneurial. Very serendipitously, it's a funny thing when you look for opportunity long enough, it happens to come up. Um, and so my uncle called me and he said, "Hey, Mike, I've been running this flower shop for 38 years. I'm struggling and I want to sell it. I'm not making any money." And again, with my background in finance, I was super green right out of college, but I was like, amazing. Here's a little side project. It sounds interesting. He's family, happy to help. So that's how it all began. I came in to help him sell the business, and a very long story short, fell in love with it and asked him. He looked at me a little funny. I asked if I could take it over, and I was working some corporate consulting job, probably making too much money for some guy out of college. But with anything, even within the business, running this business, you have to take a leap of faith sometimes. And so I did. Like, it wasn't 1,000% rooted in logic. Like, I was trained, especially in finance, to be rooted in logic. So try to make logic based decisions. But at the end of the day, like, there's a leap that you have to take. And so that was my first leap.
Well, I think people that study human psychology they realize that most decisions are emotional, and then we kind of back it up with logic that we find later, right? So, but I'm curious. And I want to hear more about the story, obviously, but I just wanted to interject one question. So, 38-year-old business, the floral business, you don't have a floral background. I remember from the article that I read, it wasn't in your hometown, like you had to go. It wasn't right near you, was it?
Well, I was in Seattle at the time. I had a great
Yeah.
job up in Seattle, but it was actually back in Los Angeles, and I was born in LA. Didn't wasn't planning to go back, but yeah, I found myself back here, and I'm still here.
So you go into this, you're coming from Seattle, it's some consulting job, where everything's shiny and new, probably, besides the weather outside in
Yeah.
Seattle. And you come down here and you go in the back room of, this is what I'm picturing. Tell me if I'm right. You go in the back room of a floral thing. It probably has an old computer, a bunch of receipts and things like that, and 38 years of data, but there's really no data because it's like day to day, right? And you start looking at things that the numbers are way smaller than you've been looking at, right? You hear the customers coming in and either being super happy or maybe some of them aren't happy. And you say to yourself, like, I love this business. What about that did you love?
You know, I loved the business because there were so many problems with it, and
Mm,
I knew that where there are problems, there are opportunities, and the bigger problem that you can solve, typically the more value you can unlock, right? And so it wasn't just his flower shop, but what really started to get me interested, because originally I came in to sell the business again, right? So I was on a mission. And so what do you do when you're going to sell a flower shop? You look at comparables, you look at competitors, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. You look at the books, how are we doing financially? Everything was kind of a mess. So I was like, okay, let's run this business for a few months. Let's clean it up. There's a lot of excess spend that you don't need to be. And so let's try to increase the, bottom line to get top dollar. While we were doing that, I did a little bit of a roadshow and to a bunch of different florists, anybody who would talk to me. And what I really saw very quickly was incredibly deep systemic issues in the space. Okay, so just as a reference point, I think there's 60,000 coffee shops in America. There are 30,000 flower shops. So there's a lot of flower shops. I feel like there's a coffee shop on every corner at least. And I don't think we realize how many flower shops there are. 99.9% of those flower shops are single unit mom and pop shops, right? It's so you hear about all these like private equity firms and uh, the roll up strategy with bowling alleys and doctors' offices and all these types of things. And so, first of all, you have a wildly fragmented space. Within that fragmented space, all these florists are struggling with literally the same exact problems. The supply chain sucks. There's no technology in the space. The marketing is, and then so, and for some reason, we don't have a lot of outside capital coming in. It's a $19 billion industry just in the US for retail floral gifting. So not wholesalers, not people buying for themselves, but like literally it's just the most niche segment that you can try to find is $19 billion. It's kind of a lot of money, I guess, but in the terms of private equity or institutional capital, I guess they're looking for like the hundreds of billions or $1 trillion pharmaceuticals or biotech or AI, right? Whatever the hottest thing is. Like they're not going to mess with a measly $19 billion industry. So you have a wildly fragmented space, very little innovation coming from within. You have no outside capital that's stoking innovation as well. And then the third kind of like hammer that really has just made the floral industry so antiquated for so long is um, if I say French fries, do you have a company that comes to mind?
McDonald's,
If I say coffee, what company comes to mind?
Starbucks,
Starbucks, yeah. And then if I say flowers, do you have any company that comes to mind?
FTD.
Okay, beautiful. So FTD is the number two player, and
Okay.
their main competitor to the number one player is 1-800-Flowers. It's the same exact business model. Just as a side note, FTD declared bankruptcy in 2019. 1-800-Flowers was worth close to $3 billion at their peak. They're worth less than 10% of that. So they've lost about 90% of their enterprise value over the past 10 years. And the reason for that is, but they're the dominant market player. So this third nail in the coffin is you have this dominant market player that's continuing to stifle innovation in the space because their business model is they take your order and they syndicate it to a local florist. Fine. The problem is that they take north of a 40% commission after all of their fees are considered on that order. So the florist doesn't have a good supply chain. They have no technology. The marketing sucks. And then like the dominant market player is majorly taking an advantage of them. They're getting crushed from every angle.
Yeah.
So what an interesting space. I was like, darn, you have 30,000 florists are struggling out there. So that was pretty cool. That's where it started.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of opportunity there if you have the fix for it. And I think that's where we're going next, right?
Yeah, and I guess the pretty wrapper to put that all in is like I can sit here and say, we've built a flower shop. It was doing 300. The average flower shop does around 350K. After a few years, we were able to get this one flower shop to be doing just shy of 10 million in revenue out of one location. We opened a second and third location. Both of them did the first one just shy of a million, and the second one just shy of 1.3 million in the very first year of operating. So we were able to crack the code, but I can sit here and tell you that like, yeah, we made all the right moves, and this is why we're successful. Like at the end of the day, I can't in good conscience say that it's not my decisions that really allowed us to have the success that we have had.
Hmm.
Like we get to build something that we think is cool and put it out into the world, but ultimately it's the market. They are the decision makers on whether we're successful or not. So like solving the supply chain issues, solving the tech issues, solving the branding and marketing problems, disintermediating and having that direct relationship with the client and locally fulfilling that order all the way through that last mile delivery, having deep relationships with our farmers. All of those things are to serve a better client experience. So all of the decisions, like all of the lack of innovation doesn't really matter except to say that resulted in a really, really bad client experience. And so when you go and order flowers online, it's just like a really hit or miss experience right now, right? So ultimately, like that's the problem that we're trying to solve. We're not necessarily trying to solve the supply chain issues. We're not necessarily trying to solve the tech issues. We end up solving those issues because by solving that allows us to create a better client experience. But like, just to be clear, everything we do has been about client experience and making sure that and we haven't even gone to like how special flowers really are. But it's
Mhm.
a shame. It's a really a deep, deep shame that flowers are treated as a transaction. That the dominant market leader, I'm not a huge fan of like bashing the competition. We're here to be the greatest company we can be. But pragmatically speaking, I think it's really a shame that the dominant market leader currently is they don't care about the client experience and they don't understand how like flowers are love. Uh, like that's not like when you give flowers, you're like creating a more loving world. And it's like, so anyways, I'm getting into, we're not saving lives and we're not fighting wars and we're not in the emergency room, but like we are creating a more loving world, in my opinion. And that feels like a really worthwhile mission. And it's been an amazing journey. And so like, but that's our North Star. And so creating a client experience that reflects that has, beyond all of like the tactical supply chain and tech stuff that we've done, that like emotional piece of it has been really motivating for us.
That's amazing. It just brings up like a million questions, of course, because I do remember, and I have the answer for one of them, and that is, that location in LA that it was your uncle, right?
That's right.
Yeah. It was doing 300 grand for 38 years, and now it's doing 10 million. When I hear tech, the overall thing that I've heard, I totally get your why, and flowers are not going out of style. Like it's still like the way to show love. And hey, this is a special occasion. We brought flowers. Like when you get flowers, no one's like, whatever. You know what I mean? But the tech innovation, probably because of I was showing my age with FTD, right? I forgot when 800 flowers, but you just think of, oh, they figured out a delivery method that works better. But you've already covered like there's supply chain, there's the marketing, all that kind of stuff. So you've come at it from the why question of like how do we create a better client experience for someone, and those other areas get solved somehow by thinking about that one main question. But it's not just delivery, because that's like if I hear FTD, I'm picturing like the little sneaker with the wings on it. Like
Yeah, that's right.
I need to get something to my mom. She's in Illinois. Like I'm in Denver. Like I need to send her something, so I'm calling 1-800
Convenience.
Flowers or
Yep.
FTD.
Yep.
Um, and so that's what I think of. Not all the stuff that's upstream of that, like getting the I don't know, carnations from Bogota, like how do you streamline that so that it's quality and it's and efficient and things like that. We don't want to go into the
Totally. No, 100%. But that's where the client experience is everything in the sense that like how is I remember studying in operations, we would go into Disneyland, right? And we would like their whole Disney's ethos is magic. And they are so rigorous in their operations. They've studied how lines should form and how to entertain people in line to make that line feel like it sucks to wait in line. And so, like, how do they deal with such a traditionally like a negative thing and try to elevate that to so they're so rigorous in their operations and their queue management. They don't explain like we're masters at line management, but they craft the code on that. So the same way, like we don't need to go deep, and I'm always more than happy to like go deep into our supply chain. It is a remarkable, but like at the end of the day, the client just wants an amazing experience. If we can just almost shield them from the complexity of how we do what we do, but really have like incredible operational rigor to deliver that extraordinary experience, then it's like, whoa, I don't know what this company is doing, but I like it. And that like that's the thing to aim for.
Yeah. The experience.
Yeah.
Don't need to know the details. Just want to feel good when I'm there or
Yeah.
when I get something from there.
Yeah. And if you do want to
So,
know the details, like we can like the details are there for you. But if you don't, like you don't need to.
yeah. So, um, so out of besides the numbers, because I'm sure any emerging brand founders listening to this, or anybody in franchising that runs operations are like, okay, how do you get that kind of a growth out of that same unit, that same footprint, that same rent that I'm paying and things like that? But let's talk about, if you wouldn't mind, the growth of the franchise. And one of the aspects that I was interested in is, you're right. Like, I come from an operations background and I've seen a lot of people's lives change for much, much better through franchising. But I also know that sometimes people get in it and they're buying a job with a ton of risk, right? And 10-year franchise agreements and 10-year leases and things like this. And one of the aspects that I really loved hearing about the French Florist story and your story was that you are going into these stores and offering like the transformation for them to come into your system, and all of a sudden they're not going to be beating their head against the wall financially trying to make it in this business. I would love to hear about some of the, I'm sure there's tons of them, but like the what's the word? I'm thinking consolidation, but it's not consolidation. It's transformation. It's, like
Yeah.
taking over an existing store, turning it
Conversion.
into a
Yeah.
French florist, and helping them like really not just enjoy the business that they're in, but also flourish in it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. That was our original intent was like why franchise as opposed to we had the opportunity. We spoke with a bunch of people and we developed some great technology. We own the best kind of proprietary operating system, and it's one of our edges for sure as an operator is like the tech we've developed, right? So, but we could spin that out and license that to other florists. Nothing else exists like it. We could become a tech company, you get all these crazy valuations, right? It was like, you know, uh, tempting for a second, but we're like, okay, why are we doing what we're doing? It's not for the money. So we're like, okay, I don't know if that path feels right to us. We could continue to do corporate expansion, right? And then, but we really looked at like how beautiful the floral industry really is. That you have these hyper local players. Like something really nice about the space is that it is mom and pop. There's something really nice that doesn't like all these franchise systems are taking over the world. It seems like, and all these corporate chains. And it's like, it's kind of cool to like go to your local authentic boutique. So the really interesting part to us, like why franchise, first of all, and then we'll get into like how we work with existing flower shops to transform their business as well, is um, we think that if we can try to find that intersection of where you get big business resources, like that, our ability to purchase many, many millions of dollars worth of floral supply allows us to work with the farm at a really intimate level, get way better pricing. We fly it through a cold supply chain, all of the product to a local airport, and then truck it to that local facility that is the fulfillment center for the flowers that you're buying online. So we maintain that whole process, and the more we buy, the lower we can get on pricing. And the more direct we can get, where we can stop buying from wholesalers, right? So that's like part of the innovation we've done on the supply chain side. So that ultimately the consumers, we get to pass along some of those discounts, but also you're getting a much higher quality product. So big business resources make sense, but how can you try to preserve like the local feeling, especially when you're looking at economically? If we did corporate expansion, we could um, hire managers for 80 to 100K at the stores, or you can have an owner that's making 150, 200, $250,000 per location. I, this is just a gut feeling at this point, but like I feel like that owner is going to care more about their business and making sure that business performs well than a manager does. Even if it's like a 1 or 2% difference, that's kind of all the difference it needs to take to be like the number one player versus the number two player, in my opinion, sometimes. So it's one of the reasons why I think there's a lot of bad franchise systems out there, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, for
Franchising is a
sure.
dirty word for me. I don't like it. I still have a negative stigma with it, but there are good franchise systems out there. And then so there's other reasons too. But to get to your question, I thought it would be a shame. There are some great florists out there. It would be a shame not to tap into the existing infrastructure of those 30,000 florists that exist, take the top 1% of them and give them a platform to grow their business in the way that we've been able to kind of like share the success, right?
This is a quick break to thank you for listening. Every week, we are getting more and more people listening to the show, and this growth is helping me to improve it and make it even more helpful to you. My intention for this show is to help more people win in business and life. To that end, I have a favor to ask. If you know of an entrepreneur that would benefit, please hit the share button and shoot them a text with the link. Back to the show. Make this a great day.
We've done a few conversions. Our track record is we can typically, the lowest we've done is doubling, but typically it's closer to tripling their business literally overnight. Like literally overnight. We switch all of the systems at like 2 or 3 in the morning. The next day they have, triple the amount of revenue. It's like really a remarkable experience. I'm not saying I don't have a crystal ball that we can do that every time, but like our track record is pretty good so far. And we experienced that with our own business too, those levels of results. And again, like, I don't want to say we have silver bullets or that those silver bullets came easy. Like it was a lot of failure to get there. So, uh, but, but it's really cool to be able to partner with an existing florist, and they're such good people. I've never met a florist that was not a good person. They wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're incredibly passionate. Not to overgeneralize, but generally they don't have a lot of as much as the business knowledge because they're creatives, right? And they should lean into that strong suit. It's a superpower, and that's actually where the magic in our industry comes from. So we like that they lean into that. But like we have figured out all the boring stuff, and so if we can do that half of the equation for them, and they bring the passion and the creativity and the strengths that create the magic, like that's a powerful. So what's really interesting is you have here's the dark side of it. You have a lot of florists that are really, they've been around for a long time, 15, 20, 30 plus years, right? My uncle, 38 years. They have a strong part of their identity associated with their flower shop. It's, Joanne's Flower Shop at
Mhm.
joannesflowershop.com. It's their name or their grandmother's name on the door. And our system really works well because of our website and the domain authority that we've been able to build up. The systems are a very closed and tight ecosystem where there's virtuous cycles that happen when, if you change your name to a French Florist, right, there's a lot of power that comes with that. It's rooted in logic, not just like there's a reason we want you to change your name. It's not just because we're selfishly, but even when you look at it from a brand perspective, the folks that are purchasing flowers online, if there's no single highly reliable, highly consistent, really good quality florist that is able to service the country nationwide. You have FTD, you have 1-800-Flowers, but they're just farming those orders out and taking massive commissions. The way that we're able to do it is a much harder way, but a way that's going to be able to create a better client experience. So, but anyways, florists have been very resistant, and it's been a shame. I've had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with florists, and a lot of them, they don't want to change their name, or they want to adopt part of the system, but not the whole system. And we can't guarantee that our system's going to work if they only adopt part of it. Like we know equation that makes it work. So the interesting part is that where we have been able to have a lot of success is folks that see the opportunity. They have a deep why. Maybe they worked corporate for a long time, right? Maybe they dabbled in entrepreneurship and have had some success, and they see the same opportunity that we have. What they can do is a lot of these flower shops are like, look, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to sell my flower shop. And these folks can come in and buy the flower shop from them, come in with a brand new perspective in the same way that I did, right? Like I had some advantage because I was coming in with a complete outside perspective. I could really kind of challenge everything. Where we're landing a lot more now than ever is acquisition of a flower shop. Because it's so fragmented, you can buy it for a very, very low price. And then you can put the French Florist engine in it and convert that shop to a French Florist. And we've had people do very well with that.
That makes sense. I was in my former career, I was a business broker, and then I specialized in fitness and all that kind of stuff and franchising. But when you get to know a business or an industry really well, you can look at a lot of deals and figure out which ones work for what you're going to do with it. And I imagine a lot of them are like your uncle's shop. They're in it. They're taking money out of it. They're getting by, but they're not actually flourishing. Some of them. And yeah, but I could see them being like, no, it's Joanne's flower shop. That's what we're going to stick with. But someone could come in and be like, hey, when Joanne wants to sell, pay whatever the price is, and then rebrand to the French Florist. And I get what you're saying. It's not about like, I want my brand out there. It's like, no, if we have everything tied together, then we know the model works. But if you try to put in 80% of it, it's not going to work because you have SEO and all the technology that works together,
That's
right?
exactly what, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting that it's the conversions, they would work well, but some people just can't get past it. But say someone called you from I'm in Denver, you're in LA, I'm picking a city that I don't know anybody in, Cincinnati, and they're like, hey, maybe I'll do this. Like I want to look into this French florist. They have a conversation with you or like someone on your team. I want to get to your team if you don't mind, that not names or anything, but like what's your team look like in terms of your franchise system. And I'm going to talk to Sue or Bob at the French Florist, and I'm there's this place in First and Main. It's flower shop for sale. They're making $40,000 a year. They want to sell for 100,000. Can you help me look at this deal and what it would look like if I bought it and then switched it the next day to French Florist? Can you do those kind of things for people?
Yeah, 1,000%. Look, like getting into a franchise is not an overnight decision. And we never want to push that. I think part of the reason why I had a bad taste in my mouth for franchising before we got into franchising, which is a cool thing because it's like, cool, like let's do the opposite of those things. But you get these like salespeople, like nobody likes a pushy salesperson. And so I make it a huge deal. We do have two sales folks on our team. We have to have that functionality for like if somebody reaches out to us, there is a process, and it's a really fun process. Ultimately, like we want you to come to one of our stores in Southern California. We want to spend 6 or 8 hours with you. We want to show you everything, look under the hood, feel if it's a right fit. So we have folks that will guide through the process, but it's really like they're like a shaman or a shepherd, or not a salesperson. They're going to introduce you to our ops team. They're going to introduce you to our tech team. They're going to introduce you to our supply chain and our marketing team, right? And any questions that you want answered, and probably a lot more, we're going to be able to answer as a part of that process. But we really try not to sell, and we really just put the opportunity out there and lead with value. Provide a ton of information, and if folks feel attracted to the opportunity, then it's always like a really fun conversation. But yeah, no, I mean, you can if somebody wants to acquire a flower shop too, whether it's via if their intention is to put a French florist engine in it, fine. If not, fine. We have a list of, it's a really tried and true list of, it's 43 questions. There are due diligence questions. It really should be published on the internet. It's not, but anybody that reaches out can get it, and we'll send it out. Like we're happy to just promote a good buying decision. Life is short, and like it's really important that you enjoy what you do from a career perspective, and we want to help back decisions like that. So we will not let you into our system if we don't think it's a good fit for you or for us. Like we try to do due diligence on your behalf as much as you do diligence on us. We'll help you with that too. So no, it's a fun process, but there's a million different ways to reach out to us. You can reach out to me personally. It's Michael at FrenchFlorist.com. You can go to our franchise website. Just Google French Florist. Yeah,
Okay.
unlimited ways to get in contact with us.
Great, great. Well, I I've had a gentleman on the show recently, and his name's Joe Cleaver, and he's out of Australia, and he's built a really great franchise brand there. And the reason I bring him up is solely because one of his main thing is we don't have a sales problem, we have a trust problem. If we can get people to know us so well that they trust us because they see how we react, they see how we handle adversity, they see how we handle objections and things like that, and they see that over time from their own perspective and not in a pressure situation, then they can actually see the opportunity that we present to them, and that's what he leads with a ton of content for that. But it sounds like that's your approach. Like I knew right from the start that you weren't going to be someone that's, has a gigantic sales engine. It's more like, if you're interested, we're going to show you everything under the hood. I
Yeah.
knew that before even talking to you.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for that, because I just had a conversation with somebody from private equity, and he thinks one of the main challenges right now is people founding the franchise systems, and they're already thinking about the exit. Like, what's it going to look like? What do
Yeah.
they want to see from me? And you guys are more like, this is our why. This is our goal. This is how we designed everything. If you're the right person, it could be a good fit for you. Come talk to us and come spend some time with us, which also is a huge trust building thing. That's not how normally people start out the franchise, sales process. It's, 5 calls over 4 weeks and come to a discovery day and that kind of thing. I mean, it works, and it's a process for a reason. But to your point is, you sounds like you guys are an open book. Like, you've got a great system. I like how you refer to it as the French Florist engine, because the heart of it's still going to be that owner that's in there, that's working with the clients and having the local presence and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. 1,000%. Yep. All
Yeah,
of that. So,
yeah, yeah.
no, it's been
And
an amazing journey. Yeah.
yeah, and how are you enjoying the journey? I know it's interesting that you're in franchising. Like, that's my whole world, and you obviously had a negative connotation about it, but you're doing it the right way, and you see it that the model works. If to be honest, I think sometimes the reason it has a bad name is because sometimes sales is the tail that's wagging the dog, right? Um,
Exactly.
and that's not the way to. Sales shouldn't dictate everything in any model, right? It should be those whys that you talked about. Um, but it's, how are you enjoying it as you are adding on franchisees and your system grows? And I'm sure, like any other system, you see a gap and you have to fill it, or there's things to shore up. How are you enjoying your journey?
Yeah. There's two things about it that make me really kind of full or content, or whatever you want to say it. The first one is, through this journey, I started to learn this when we were growing our corporate locations, but I really learned this even more with franchising, is that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Meaning, if we find great people who are smarter than I am in operations and in tech and all of the different areas that the function needs to thrive, finding them, telling them what that North Star is, making sure they're a good culture fit, that the values align, that we live by the same or similar principles, right? Everybody has their own motivation, and then getting the heck out the way has has taken us pretty far. That extends to franchise owners also, where our primary job at this point is, we do have a lot of folks that reach out, and our job is to make sure we're bringing in the right community of folks. We do have a model that's, it's not like Starbucks, or it's not like Dunkin' Donuts, where there can be like 6 in the same city.
Mhm.
All of the territory we have is fully exclusive. So you own your zip codes; they're mutually exclusive. So there's literally no competition in the system. And once that territory is owned, it's no corporate or franchise location can come in. And so it's a finite kind of goal, is to have enough flower shops to service the country, but like, there's only a certain amount, and then the country is serviced.
Mm.
Uh, and so finding the right folks to contribute to the system, in a really productive way where they have some zone of genius or some superhero ability, and tapping into that, leaning into that, like trying to get them involved in the business where it almost like we're trying to create this governance structure that's more meritocratic, which means everybody's contributing a ton of ideas and the best ones get to bubble to the top. And our job as the franchisor is basically, again, to like get out the way and or help enable the execution of that idea. But like, it's not me running the business anymore. Like I'm now one of the owners in the ecosystem, kind of like I'm running my corporate locations too, right? And they're doing really
Hmm.
well, and it's like been great. But now I get to work alongside this community of owners, and that 1+1+1+1+1 is like way greater
Mm,
than the individuals themselves. So that's been really cool and fulfilling to be a part
yeah.
of something larger, even for myself. Um, so the other part is before when I left my corporate job, and a lot of folks don't talk about this. I think most people go through it though. You have some sort of crisis in your life, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, end of life crisis. Like there's always going to be something.
Hmm.
And I left my corporate job and I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? You go through this really structured education, and then you just kind of get thrown into the world and it's like, it's an interesting place, this world here. Uh, and so,
Yeah.
right? Like, what
Yeah.
are you gonna do with it? And that was a struggle for me for, about a year and a half where I was, really asking myself the deep questions. Again, not uncommon. I don't think enough people talk about it, but I got really lucky. I have an aunt that lives in a little town called Tepoztlan, Mexico. She's from South Africa and, grew up during the apartheid, right? And saw a bunch of horrible stuff. She's white, but, saw a bunch of horrible stuff and wasn't able to help in South Africa because the laws and regulations would put her in jail for helping. So she ended up moving to Mexico. She opened an orphanage, and so her whole thing is like live a life of service. When we talk to our franchise owners, I try to understand what their values and principles and what their why is. I'm not there to judge what that why is, but I do like knowing like whether it's I want to start this business so I can as long as they don't say make more money, it's like, what's beyond that? Do they want to spend more time with the kids? Do they want to go and adventure in this wild world that we're in? Do they want to start a charity? Like, all of those are amazing answers.
Hmm.
For my aunt, she started an orphanage, and so I went to um, go live with her and volunteer in the orphanage for a couple of months, and really was challenged to think about what I want to do with my life. She was living a very specific life dedicated to service, and so I do like finance a lot. I love running this business. I love business in general,
Hmm.
but how to find that intersection between doing something good for the world, something that's actually going to contribute real value, something that's of service to that, and the intersection of like running a business because it is really fun. That does give me energy. I love it. So the more that I get involved with this business, I fall more and more in love with that and continue to seek the intersection of how we can make those two realities coexist. So it's been fun. It's a continuous journey.
It's very cool. And I think that kind of goes back to one of the things you said right at the beginning of this conversation is trying to make a more loving world. Yeah, that's pretty cool how that came full circle. Yeah. Yeah, way to go. Lucky, you have an aunt like that that's, got
Yeah,
such a
I was
heart
lucky.
and shared that with you, and I'm sure that's having a huge effect on how you're growing this business, and I 100% agree with you. Having, sold businesses and sold our system, like, you sell a business, you don't sell your purpose, and whatever you're doing, if that's still your guiding light, make a more loving world, can be good, right? Especially when you got obviously someone that's wicked smart in seeing businesses and seeing it from a different perspective and driving results. At the end of the day, there is a result. It is business, so it's got to be profitable. But and how many units do you have right now, and where do you see your do you have any growth goals, or is it or is it like, hey, we're going to see what happens. It's going the right direction where our team is happy, or do you have specific growth in mind?
Yeah, we've just kind of all of our money that we've gotten has come from our existing corporate locations. We did raise a small round of capital, not for the money, but for the strategic partners that have really
Mm,
deep expertise in other franchise systems that we really admired. Folks that have operated businesses, so they're not investors; they're operators that happen to have some money and were willing to kind of partner with us, and if they have a stake in the business, they'll probably give us better advice. That was our theory. So
Yeah,
far, so good. So yeah, we have a
sure.
pretty good war chest. We're starting to deploy a fair amount of that. We, have $4 or $5 million investments in additional operating personnel, franchise business coaches, that are not like the traditional franchise business coach. We want like life coaches. We're coaching the whole person, inside and outside of the business. Like at the end of the day, we need to make sure the business's economics are strong. So that's a core component of it. But like, there's more to it, right? Developing in additional tech solutions, additional supply chain solutions, just continuing to invest in like staying on that leading edge. A lot of those investments, if you were to ask me to calculate the ROI of it over a 3 to 5 year period, I'd probably say it's negative ROI. But over a 15, 20 year period, you better believe that I think that we're going to be on top and it'll be a worthwhile investment, right? So that's a little bit of our investment thesis.
Okay.
With that, we like our cost per acquisition for a franchise owner is like $2,000 or something. I think industry average is like 8,000 or 10,000. We don't really spend much on sales. Our sales team is really small, but yeah, we have about 15 units open right now. All of those are really strong, which is good. That was our core focus for a very long time, making sure that this first units were make or break. And so everything that we could, and now it's the next 50. And if we can't have the next 50 extraordinarily successful, it's going to be the same problem. We're not going to scale to 150. So it's one foot in front of the next. We have a projected about 30 or 35 units opening in the next year. We have a hell of an operations team. They continue to impress me, to say the least, every day. Some really world-class team members, and I don't say that lightly. My team would, I don't say the world. I don't. We do want to create world-class work, and they know that I don't say that lightly. They are a world-class team, though. So
Yes.
really proud of the work that they do. And beyond that, yeah, we're projecting that we could sign as many as 120 franchise agreements next year. There's no way that we should be doing that. So we'll kind of artificially slow down growth. But the good news is that we can kind of cherry pick the right franchise owners a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. Especially in the early days. It always matters, but especially in the early days, the pioneers are
They're everything.
less risk averse, willing to risk, a little bit more with to be on. I was one of the first. We always brag about we were one of the first 100 Anytime Fitness owners. Now there's 5,000 of them, right?
Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
So you get those like everybody wants to be. Not everybody wants to be an OG because they don't want the
No,
risk,
not
but
everybody does. Yeah. And we're still really in the early days. So we're getting
yeah,
some folks that really will have like an outsized influence in the future of our systems too, which is kind of cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, Michael, I'm so pumped for the French Florist and you and your team and hopefully the industry, so that people aren't beating their head against the wall to make a living, and they can still do what they love and make more money. I'm always thinking about those conversions for some reason, but maybe there's an exit opportunity for some floral owners, and someone else comes in
Exactly.
with a fresh perspective and puts the French Florist engine in. But thank
I
you
have
so
a
much for sharing your story. I'm
I
sorry.
have a if I can leave you with this, I'm gonna leave you with one thing. It's a hidden agenda, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't do it. So it's not a hidden agenda anymore. But outside of franchising, outside of all of that, I do want to, um, I want to pitch you and have you look at flowers maybe a little bit of a different way.
Okay,
Um,
I'm
our
game.
name is French Florist. We're an American brand. How in the world does that even make sense? Um, it makes sense because we look at the European way and we look at the French way of living, and it's a little bit more romantic, right? But specifically, how they look at flowers, they look at flowers as a way of life. That compared to Americans, we view flowers as a luxury. We buy them for occasions: happy birthday, happy anniversary, congratulations. And what I want to challenge is that um, we talked about how when you send somebody flowers, you're telling them that you're thinking about them, you tell them that you care about them and that you love them, right? And so that root emotion is love. I'm yet to be convinced there's a more powerful emotion that exists in this world than love. It's a pretty cool thing. And it's a tall order to be in an industry but it's cool. We're lucky to be in that industry and in that space. So how do you tell somebody that you love them? Flowers are a great way, maybe even the best way to do that. Um, and I would go so far as to say, why would you wait till Mother's Day to buy your mom flowers? As a matter of fact, I would say, if you bought your mom or whoever it is, your friend, your partner, anybody, if you bought them flowers on a random Wednesday for no reason at all, I think that that is very moving, and you're going to make a more meaningful moment than compared to buying them flowers for some obligation or some Hallmark holiday, right? So think about buying flowers off of the occasions and making it a little bit more of like a way of life. There's an incredible beauty to that, and when you put it into practice, you'll never be able to go back. So that's my pitch.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. Brighten someone's day, right? When it's
Well,
unexpected. I love that. I like that pitch, Michael. I'm going to take it to heart, and I'm sure the listeners will too, because I think everybody wants to have a positive impact on someone, brighten someone's day, and that's a way to do it for sure. Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, I ask folks, do you remember the last time somebody bought you flowers? And sometimes they say, yeah, it was 4 years ago. And I'm like, wow, people complain. They're like, oh, but the flowers die and they're really expensive. It's like, no, no, no. I don't care if you get flowers from your grandmother's backyard for free. But if somebody remembers the emotions and the feeling that somebody brought them when they 4 years ago, like the flowers might die. First of all, they're supposed to die. That's part of the point. That's like the cycle of what makes them so beautiful. But the emotions that they create and the feelings that it creates, those live on, I would say forever, uh, at least 4 years anecdotally. So,
Right.
it's a powerful thing. So anyways,
Yeah.
I'll get off my monologue
Yeah.
there.
I will say this, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back too much, but, my wife and I travel a fair bit, and we travel separately. And when my wife is going to be coming home from a trip, I usually try to have a bouquet of flowers either by her bed or on the kitchen table. And
That's so sweet. Yeah.
she's always like, "Thank you." I'm like,
Yeah.
"I
If you're
did
doing it
one
on
thing
like,
right that day anyway," right?
if everybody's working really hard and you do it on a Friday and the flowers, last at least the weekend, if not longer too, but like it sets the tone for the weekend. People get in a little tiff or whatever you call them, right, over the weekend. But you look over, you remember the flowers are there. You only have the weekend to really like enjoy each other's company, and so it's just like a little reminder, and it's kind of a fun way to get into the weekend. So a
Totally.
lot of
I love
different
it.
pitches there. You take
Yeah,
whatever part
I
you like.
love it. Well,
Yeah,
we will have your contact information for people to reach out to you and your team. And I love what you're doing. I love the reason for it, and I really appreciate you coming on to share it with me and the listeners. And man, I'm wishing all the best for you. Maybe I should go see if there's a flower shop for sale in my community here. But thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate you.
yeah. The pleasure's all ours. Thank you.
That wraps up today's episode of the Franchise Scale Up Show. If this gave you a strategy you can put into play, please share it with one founder who needs the help. You might save them months of pain. If you're ready to go deeper, whether it's building your support infrastructure, accelerating territory sales, or preparing for private equity, go to guycoffey.com. That's GUYCOFFEY, and book a free franchise growth strategy call. I only partner with founders who are committed to scaling without losing control. If that's you, I'd love to connect. Until next time, protect your vision, move fast, and scale smart. I'm Guy Coffey. Talk soon.